Hi, this is Cheryl of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful bracelet. And we're using all Beebeecraft supplies today. And so this is a Beebeecraft tutorial. And I'm showing it, this is my prototype, and I'm showing it with crystals. But the actual tutorial, we're going to be using the Beebeecraft frosted 4mm glass beads. And I think we're going to use today for the bracelet the cyan red because it shows up so pretty on the camera. But it's got wonderful colors here. We've got cobalt blue, black, kind of like an amethyst purple, the cyan red. This is a gray. It's kind of a really pretty gray. When the light goes through it, it's hard to show on camera. Darker purple, the clear, and kind of like a garnet, I would say, the tan, and then a teal blue. So really pretty colors to choose from. I kind of messed up my beads there. So we're going to start. We're going to use the cyan red, and I think that'll look pretty in this design. And this bracelet, as is, it measures 7¼ inches, 7 1/8 inch on the inside once the clasp is closed. And I will show you how to measure your bracelets later on in the show. And it's going to, because the beads have a different dimension, you can see this, it's wider. It's going to make the bracelet bigger. So I'm not sure if I want to leave out a link. What I've done here is, okay, I've got a rosette in the middle, and then I don't know, what do you call it? A V-type regular link and 3 rosettes, and then I've got a regular link attached to the clasp. So I'm not sure if I will leave out one of the regular links, but I think maybe we'll do exactly what this is and see what the difference is, and then you could decide what bead you want to use, just, you know, because that'll make a difference with sizing for people. And so let's begin. Oh, by the way, we're going to be using, everything we're using today is Beebeecraft. So that's kind of interesting. So I'll have all the links in the description, the supply list in the description as per normal. And I'm kind of excited about this design. So let's get started. The first thing I want you to do is take your round nose pliers, and we actually have to do a little bit of prep work in order to, if you want to make the same size link loops that I am here. So consistency with a bracelet, consistency is very important. And I've got all my loops the same size, and it affects your length greatly when you modify that. So what I want you to do is find the sweet spot on your round nose pliers, and it may take a few loops for you to figure that out. But take some scrap wire. It doesn't have to be the silver wire, but take some scrap wire, and I'm just going to make a loop on here that I can use later on. Keep your scraps, by the way, because we're going to use them. Okay, I'm going to go here and make a loop. I must have something in the camera's way there. Okay, there we go. So there's a loop, and it measures, take your ruler, it measures 4mm from end to end. Just see how it's just barely 4mm. And then I've taken, because I want all those loops, except for the ones that are going to attach to the clasp, because we need larger loops for the clasp. Then I took a permanent marker. I should probably redo it because I'm making the bracelet that I did wore it off a little bit, but then I took a permanent marker and marked where it was. So I went beside, well, this one's a little bit bigger, as you can see. Okay, and then I marked it, and then I'm going to make all my loops using that mark. So you go ahead, pause the video, and there we go. Pause the video and find your sweet spot on your round nose pliers, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work from the center outwards, because that way you can decide if it's going to fit or whatnot. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, that this bracelet is 7. I gotta move stuff out of the way so it clipped. There we go. So it's 7 1/8 inch once the clasp, the inside measurement once the clasp is closed. But it's gonna, if we use the round beads, it's gonna be bigger. So we'll have to just play by ear. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make that center rosette. Okay, and I've got your supply list in the description below, and I've asked you to cut 7 lengths of 7 9-inch lengths of the wire. And what wire we're using today is the BENECREAT 20 gauge, which is silver plate enameled, and so it's gonna stay pretty looking as long as we don't scratch it deeply into the enameling. Okay, and so you've got your sweet spot on your pliers, round nose pliers. And so I want you to take about 1.5 inches down, between 1.5 and 2 inches, and I've chosen 9 inches because I want to have a length left behind, a working length that we can reuse, and we will reuse it in the video or in this bracelet. Okay, so we want to make a loop. Okay, so it's a nice looking loop. That's what you want. And then we're going to wrap it twice. As we usually want to do really neat with bracelets, although with the rosettes the wrapping is hidden, but you still need the length. So we still need to be neat just because we want it to be a consistent length. Okay, and then snip it as close as possible and put on your first bead. So these are 4mm beads. And the rondelles I used were the 4x3. Okay, and we want our loop facing, I don't know if you pay attention to when you make these, what direction your loop's going, but we will be paying attention to that in this project. Although we can twist them afterwards, so I mean, because they will bend on you. Okay, that looks fairly neat. So then we do our wraps till the bead. And then we want to be in this position. And I think I measured it a little bit far. So when we do this part of measuring, I forgot to mention that we're going to use that same measurement. We're going to, the same measurement for the loop we're using for the spacer. Okay, so now we're going to make the little floret. And I figured we'd make the florets because it kind of matches the clasp. So I want you to take your fingernail. Oh, come on. There. Okay, and hold it right there and make a bend, and that's going to be the start of a little loop. Take your time doing this. I just flattened it because it started coming up. And then I want to curl it a little bit more. Okay, like that. So I want it to look like that. And we're going to pay attention to what's the top of the bead. So that's the top. Now I want to mention that I couldn't make this bracelet with just regular copper because 20 gauge copper wire would not bend like this wire does. This wire has a little bit different properties than copper or silver. You might be able to get away with this with fine silver, but I think that would be the only exception that would be this malleable. The reason this is you think about it, the measurement of this wire is, well, it's 20 gauge, which is 0.81 millimeters. So it's not even a millimeter, but it's the same diameter as 20 gauge copper wire, but it also has the layer of silver on it, and it also has the layer of clear enamel over top. So the copper that's inside of this is quite a bit thinner, therefore more bendable. And the enameling that they've used bends so sweetly, is one way I could put it. So this really, one of the beautiful properties of this is it bends so nice. Okay, and we want it to have a little bit of an arch here. And I could not do this with copper. Like, seriously, couldn't. Okay, and I'm right against the bead here, and we're going to wrap around one. I'm holding this down in place so it doesn't flip up. And I'm wrapping around once, like that. Okay, and then I'm using my fingernail again to start another loop on the opposite. Kind of like a yin-yang. So kind of similar size, but I mean, we're not going to be overly picky because we know wire does have a mind of its own. So it is different, and that's okay. And then we're going to go again, just like before. We're going to wrap totally once around, and then we're going to snip it off about 1/2 inch, which would be 1 1/4 centimeters out. And I see this, it's a nice length. I'm going to measure it. I think it's about 3 inches. And yeah, it's just a little bit over 3 inches. It's not coming in focus. There. It's a little bit over 3 inches, which is the perfect length to make the regular links. So we're going to use this, and it made it nice and easy to work with the work. And so you're going to set aside that scrap. And any scrap you have that's 3 inches long or 2.5 even, well, 2.5 is a little bit hard to work with, but you can do it. Always keep them, have them in a stash, because when you're going to make a bracelet out of links, it's the perfect length for a link. And then you're not wasting too much. So I on purpose made it so I would have a leftover of 3 inches. I measured it. So I love these round nose pliers from Beebeecraft because they have the tiniest tips. And so what I want you to do is make a loop at the end of the wire so it touches itself. And then we're going to tuck that in the back. No, I might as well use the pliers for the round nose pliers for that too. And we're going to tuck it in the back. Push it down as best we can. Anywhere it'll fit. And it's not going to scratch anybody. It's not going to catch on any clothing. And there, that center one is done. So that's going to teach you the basics for all the flowerets, except for the fact that we might have to change direction of the loop once in a while, or oh, we might have to put it onto the piece itself. Okay, one more thing that we need to do, and what I've been doing is I've been pushing down the sides, because some are going to be bigger than others, and when you push down the sides, it hides that flaw. It makes them more, I'm not sure what word to use, more alike. You know, we're going to get the same dimensions. That's better. Say kind of similar dimensions. And then it hugs it, and it looks better from the side when you're wearing it, and it shows a little bit more of the bead itself. So yeah, so you're just going to hug it down to the side a little bit like that. Okay, so that one's done. And now we're making some regular links, but because you've only got one of these, what we've done in the pattern of the bracelet is we've done the floret, the center floret, and then we did 4 links, and then we did 3 of these guys. So of the flowerets, here we go. So this one we could do completely by itself like we did the center one, and this one too, to get a couple more scraps built up. Yeah, how should we do that? We're gonna do, okay, then we'd have 3 anyways. We'd have 3 scraps, and then we wouldn't have to cut off so much waste here with this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make 2 more, just like what we did, 2 more links like this. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to get you to make 2 more of those, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I've got all 3 little links made, and hopefully you were successful making yours. They're really sweet and pretty, and they add so much to the bracelet. Matter of fact, you could make a bracelet with just those little links, and it would be pretty too. But because of the size of the clasp, I wanted to give some width to the bracelet itself, and that's why I did the center, like doing this. And I love it. I love it. And okay, so the next step is we need to make attach 4 of these regular links in this formation. There we go. And yeah, so that's next. And so I happen to have 4 scraps that are around 3 inches long, and so I'll be using them. Matter of fact, my little where I demonstrated how I found the 4mm width on my round nose pliers, the loop width, I mean. It's prepared, ready for me to start one of the links. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to continue to wrap this. And I'm sure you know how to make a regular link, but I'm just going to show you how to attach it. Okay, so we need to pay attention to the direction of the loops with these. Just checking. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so that's 2 wraps, and we want we want them both in the same direction with this. I don't know, some people do what haphazard with their links, and for some necklaces that works fine, but we have to be picky with this. So I'm ready to trim that off. Put the bead on. Whoops, drop that. Now the link moved. I'm going to fix that now. I mean the loop. Okay. Push the bead tight against the other wrap. Make your loop. We want it to be straight. Okay, now I'm going to lift it up like this, because we're going to take one of our floret loops and attach it to it. And this is what I mean by the next step is linking things together. Try to do this as neat as you can, and if it spreads out, then before you make the next loop, squeeze it together. Mine doesn't need squeezing, but if yours did, that'd be the time to do it. Okay, 2 wraps. Whoops, out of the camera, sorry. I was peeking over. That's what tends to happen. Got it nice and tight. Snip it next to the bead as close as possible. And now take your chain nose pliers, and this is where one of the for instances that these chain nose pliers are so good is because they can get into really tiny places. Now where's that end? Crimp it in. Make sure everything's straight. And it's best to do each as you go with each, because if you wait until the end to do all of them, you tend to miss something. See, I'm just pinching as I go, and it makes it move in. And now it's tucked in really nice. In the side view, give it a nice gentle squeeze, and that'll make the loops keep its shape. And we want the loops, see, I'm adjusting, they weren't flush, we want them flush. We want them the same, going the same direction. Okay, so I want you to add another loop, another link just like that here, going the same direction, both links, and I'm going to pause while you do that. Okay, so I'm just reminding you to check and make sure that your loops are where they should be at. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is make another loop and attach it to this one. And I'm going to do that in front of you as well, because, well, basically we're going to be doing opposite directions. So because we want both of the ends this direction to put the other loop through. You'll see what I mean when we get there, so I'm not going to bother explaining it now. But we want the next 2 links we're putting on here, we're going to have the first loop to be this way, and then the other one perpendicular to it. So if that makes sense, might as well do it, and then you'll see. I'm just gonna close this link up. Two wraps, snip it at the side. Okay, so now we're going to make the loop, the next loop perpendicular. And we don't want to close it up because we're going to attach it to the other one. We're going to lift it up. You could use your chain nose pliers or round nose pliers for this. So we want to lift it up so we have that space to add it onto this guy. Take your chain nose pliers. Working through the camera. Okay. Snip it off. Crimp it in. Make sure everything's straight. Okay, so, oops, sorry, I moved out of the camera. Okay, make everything straight. Now, I've got to make sure those loops are perpendicular, and they moved on me when I was wrapping. So easy enough to fix. Okay, eyeball it really good. Okay, now we want to, oops, there we go. Now we want to do the same thing. We want to do exactly the same, put another link right there. So I'll pause while we both do it. I forgot to mention that you probably don't have any more scrap pieces like I do. So then I would take maximum of a foot off of your roll. Working anything longer than a foot is clumsy. So use that as a working piece of wire. And chances, I'm not sure how much more you'll need. It depends how many times you have to do things over. I know that I sometimes have to snip things off and redo them. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my two links complete, and we want the links to sit. They're gonna sit like, they're being stubborn. Okay, so you want them like that, So you want to make sure they're sitting right. And I'm going to sit them down. And no, I can't do that in the camera. I normally lay it down when I put in my next loop. Okay, so we're going to be careful to have it so that it doesn't kink up. We want it to hang fairly naturally. Okay, like that. Okay, so you're going to take your working wire, and actually no, you're going to take a 9-inch length of wire, because the next one we're doing a curly one. So 1 inch, 1.5 inches from the end approximately, making your consistent loop. Okay, and now we're going to lift it up to give that space again. And then we're going to make sure that it's hanging right. Okay, so those two are sitting like that. Okay, and then once it's sitting right, see how I got the links there sitting properly? Now I'm holding them so they don't move on me. Put that wire through. And I've got them on the link. Grab your chain nose pliers. Get that in focus. Okay, and put the loop together. Grab it. And the fact that there's 2 links on it is going to make it a little bit more difficult. Do your 2 neat as you can wraps. And mine didn't turn out that neat, so I'm going to squish them together like that. Okay, and down to the side a little bit. Snip it. Okay, put the bead on. Okay, and then we want the link to be, both loops to be the exact same direction. So go ahead and finish your curly loop, because the rest you should know how to do. And I'm going to pause this. Actually, I just thought, sorry about this. I just made the loop and I'm realizing we need to, normally I build on it, but because we made those 2 links ahead of time, this is where we're going to introduce the 1 link before we do the wire wrapping. So we need to pay attention. What is the top? So this is the top, and we've got that placed and ready to put the next link on. We're going to put it upside down. Okay, so I just realized we made both of these links straight. We need this link perpendicular. Okay, change on the fly. Sorry, apologies. Okay, so just twist it so it's perpendicular to the other. Okay, so it might be a trial and error how we get this. I think I'm still going to try putting it upside down first. And yeah, see, it flips right side up. Okay, so now you need to go and do your wrapping and do your curlicue just like before. I'm going to actually go ahead and do this. It moved on me. Okay, gotta pay attention to what's the top. That's the, oh, there we go. Okay, top, there, we're consistent. Now I'm gonna start my swirls. So you really have to pay attention to what's the top and what's the bottom. And I'm just gonna straighten this wire because it's a little bit kinky. Okay, this wire doesn't work hard and very fast, so we could get away with that. And make that little bit of loop. Right next to the bead. Okay, pushed it in a little bit, it's too big. Okay, and then wrap it around and snip it off 1/2 inch long, which is again 1¼ centimeters approximately. Save your scrap. Oh, round nose pliers, sorry. The thing about using the permanent markers on the pliers, I keep getting it on my finger. Okay, made that loop and tuck it under the bottom. I can actually do it with my fingers. This wire is so nice and soft. Okay, so that's 2 in a row. Now I gotta push the sides down. Oh, we're gonna start on part 2, so I might as well finish this. My phone's gonna cut out any second now. Okay, so we're gonna go to part 2.